Craig 538 on grand dreams and unrealistic expectations for foreign employees in Japan plus delicious dishes at home. Craig noted it is great to pick up and move to another country to look for a better life. But, you have to realize what skill set you are bringing to any company, especially in Japan. Plus, some recent dishes I enjoyed at home. Enjoy. On the decline of the English teaching market in Japan. You said, you saved money, Craig? Yes, I did. But, I haven't. I know. That was a conversation I had with one of the successors to my first English teaching job in Japan. The times and the economy changed. A favorable exchange rate and frugal living years ago allowed me to quickly pay down my debt. But, by the time the third person replaced me, the yen was not nearly as good, and the once-free apartment that came with the job was gone, too. It was still a great job, but the young man did not leave Japan with piles of money. In fact, he was the last person in the job. The school board farmed the contract out to an English teacher dispatch company. Now, some poor expat sap does the same dancing monkey gig for about 100,000 yen, $1,000, less than I did a month. Welcome to English teaching in Japan in 2018. On Japan needing more foreigners. I read an article online. It poses the question that while Japan needs foreigners, do foreigners need Japan? I don't know. The Japanese government expanded some programs to allow unskilled foreigners to more easily get visas in Japan. The programs have received criticism from some in Japan as a de facto immigration policy. The current Prime Minister has been most careful to avoid labeling it as an immigration policy. Worse, several foreigners came forward with stories of exploitation. They complain of low wages, long hours, and poor working conditions. That is most unfortunate if not unsurprising. Now, this blog is not about social change, and I make it a point to stay out of such things. Still, in 2005, I needed Japan. I struggled to find good work in America. I had no health insurance. My bank account was basically zero. Japan offered an opportunity to me, and I took it. That was a wise choice. Fast forward to 2018, my hometown has more than 1,200 unfilled jobs at this moment. I could fly home tomorrow and be employed the next day. In fact, I have considered it. That's especially true as it takes more and more effort to make money as an English teacher. I am fortunate to have a good position. But, I work far more than I did in Japan in 2005 to make the same amount of money today. It is a grind, and that's the way it goes, and will go for the foreseeable future. And, I am not alone in that, and I accept it. On foreigners who lack a marketable skill set. I see many expats with no skills lamenting they are not making more money. I don't mean to break it to anyone, but you aren't that special. Now, in a perfect Japanese economy, every foreigner would be able to make a living wage. But, it isn't, and they don't. That is not going to change anytime soon. This is something that affects Japanese people, including my lovely wife, too. There is a little flyer that comes to my house in the newspaper every weekend. There are a few good-paying jobs. One position was near my house. My wife applied, and she got an interview. The company offered a nice salary, and my wife considered going back to work. But, the reality of the 40-hour-a-week job was terrible. Employees were expected to work 8/5:30, but there was always a chance of mandatory overtime until 10 or 11 p.m. The company told her the average new employee stays 6 months before they quit. At least, they were honest in the interview. At the opposite end of the spectrum, my wife interviewed for a few part-time jobs. Some were English-speaking related. That was something she was interested in doing. She found one with some promise. But, the pay offered was so low it was not worth driving to work. So, she took a pass on working as do many wives in Japan. Companies want employees to work like dogs on temporary contracts, or they hope some housewife is content to float in and out for 800 yen, $8 an hour. I write that not to throw Japan, companies, or anyone under a bus. It is simply the current employment reality in Japan. Should it come as a shock unskilled foreigners struggle find employment? Of course not. In the end, while no expat should give up their grand dreams of success in Japan, many folks would be wise to have more realistic expectations. Gray, grizzled, and gaijin